Boom. Okay, so this is, I just didn't really feel like starting a live stream. So, I'm eating my bisque whilst I go ahead and block in the next shot. So the next shot, if you've been following along, would be Asher in the jail. And so what we're going to have here is going to be one of the guards, slamming the door shut. So I'm going to basically go ahead and put him in the center. This doesn't matter, that's just me sketching. Okay. So we need to have a good picture of Asher. I did not want to reuse one of these, because as I've said in my last video, I've gotten a good leverage out of this little sequence, but I don't want to push it too far by reusing that shot. So just for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and do another Asher. Whoops. Sorry, got to be in draw mode. Cool. So that's going to be shot number 6. So file. I'm planning to do this one primarily in Blender, just for kicks and giggles, basically. So let's create a new folder. Call this 006. And just plop the blend file. Oops, not 066, silly one, 006. Okay. Alright, so now this is interesting. I'm going to go ahead and put in a layer here. And I'm going to call this bars or jail. Okay, so here's the concept. We're going to have the hand, and maybe the body, I suppose, here of the guard. Let me think about this. So he's going to reach out and pull it shut. So when it's shut, it would be somewhere in here. So I'm going to go back to the sketch layer just to block this in. So if the bars are essentially slamming shut here, something of that nature. Whoops. Okay. Then in this Lekbar could be in silhouette here, like he was before. Okay, so this would be, if I was going to plan this out on paper, this is what I would do. I'd probably draw this pose, and then I'd just draw this and extend his arm. Just say there's an arc, and then we kind of know how long his forearm is, so we'll say there's the other part of the arc. Okay, so there's his hand, and the bar would be here, and it's going to move back this way. So we'll figure you're probably going to need one tween that's just a little bit of a bend here where the hand comes back a little bit, and then it'll slam shut. So it's going to be bam, like that, and then you'll hear the sound effect. And again, he can be in silhouette. So going back to this, what I'm thinking is, let's draw, we might as well use the final material because we're just going to jump right in here and go, let's go charcoal ink. And let's see how thick this is. It's about perfect, actually. Okay, so let's just put that in there. And then we'll go into edit mode, select linked, and we'll go Shift D. Okay, and now to keep it accurate-ish in terms of spacing, what I'm going to do is keep doubling it. So Shift D, and I'm hitting the X key so it only moves on the X. And I'm just going to go by feel here. Let's assume that 10,000 years ago, probably their manufacturing tolerances weren't quite as good as today. so we'll just put this over here pretty close. Alright, and so on this layer, I guess what we want to do is actually we want to put one over here as well, but this should probably be like this. Something like that. I'm going to put this for now. I'm going to move this into a new layer and just call this static bars. That way everything in this layer can be animated pretty seamlessly. Okay, and so with that in mind, let's drop this radius down to more like let's do 200, 2/3 of the thickness and see how that feels. So this would be there. Okay, edit mode, tab key, in other words, L key to select linked. And I have to say, I'm actually thinking I want that even thinner. There you go. Okay, so now we're going to duplicate. Just move it up on the Z axis. That feels pretty good. Okay, so what's missing then from this shot? Well, basically Lekbar's arm. So at the beginning of the shot, let's hit the A key to select everything, and we'll hit the G key to go or move on the X axis and put it to here. Okay, and now this layer, I'm just going to set it kind of transparent just so it's a little less distracting. And okay, yeah, I'm just thinking about do I want to put this guy in a silhouette kind of thing. So I'm going to say, whoops, stop, undo. I want to turn the strength variation off and probably lower this down to, geez, probably we should just treat it like any other outline. So I'm just going to go like this, and now that I'm doing it, I can see that the sketch layer feels a little too hot. Again, it's a little distracting. I guess I need a sip of my bisque. Butternut squash bisque. Absolutely incredible. Okay. I think I'm rethinking this now. Charcoal ink filled. Let's use that material. Okay, stop. I'm on the wrong layer. That's where I need to be. Okay, that's what I'm after. Something like that. Okay. I like that. I like the way it makes the weight of his body look like he's really cranking on it. Okay, so you're into a new scene. You generally want to give it a half a second or so to breathe before you start animating things. Okay, so now what do we do? Tell you what, let's do this. Let's go back here. And go into edit mode and select linked. What I'm trying to do, I'm going to move him actually to a different layer for temporarily. So we'll put this in a new layer, and we'll just call this Lekbar silhouette. Okay, so let's deal with Lekbar first. So again, we'll duplicate this. Shift D for duplicate. Okay, so now this, if we turn this off, then see, he disappeared. So that's what we want. We want to take this, get rid of that keyframe, and reduplicate it so that we have that keyframe without Lechbar in it. Okay, so now let's go back to Lechbar. Okay. And what would he do? He's gonna, first of all, okay, I was in edit mode, that's my mistake. I should have hit the D key. Okay, so I'm gonna hit undo a couple times, that was a mistake. Go back to the D key, then the E key. Okay, so yeah, his body weight would pull. Okay, so he's gonna pull a bit this way. And what we want to do is, we don't want to lose any volume on his arm, so that's why I'm kind of doing this little rinky-dink. Okay, and then I'm thinking 2 frames, and we will put in a tween. Okay, so I'm going to grab this bit here for now. Actually, let's wiggle this. Hit the G key. I just hit the G key and hit escape so that it stuck a new keyframe in there for me. So let's get rid of those points. So what we then can do is back into draw mode. Or I should say sculpt mode, sorry. Okay. And, you know, his head would move a little bit more from pulling this around. Hit the G key, put this here, and then all we have to do is basically fill in some stuff to make it look like that's in fact his arm that went over there. Okay, so that's done. Let's just make sure that feels okay. I would say this keyframe could be deleted. Let's just go ahead and start the motion here. Pop, bam. Okay, the only reason this works is because we're going to put a automatic tween in. So we'll go here, make sure we're in draw mode, and then shift. Is it shift E or is it control shift E? I think it's control shift E. Yep. Okay, now that's interesting. Oh my goodness, that did not work at all. So let's get rid of that. And what we'll do is go back into sculpt mode and just move this a little bit. And let's just say the force of his body would be in his shoulders. He's kind of jerking and pulling. Okay, let's see if that feels all right. Yep, that's perfect. Okay, so now we can go to, and by the way, save early, save often. Okay, so now we can go to the jail and go into edit mode. Grab everything. Here, okay, again, grab everything. Hit the G key on the x-axis. Go like that. We're ignoring, by the way, the idea that potentially his, you know, fingers maybe would get pinched. Hang on, I want to make sure I'm on the x-axis. G, X. So go on the x-axis. And G, X. Boom. Okay. We'll save that. Looks pretty good. Alright, so this shot is not going to be going very long because basically it's going to go bam, and then we're going to be cutting to Golix. So this is, we'll just say this is a 2-second shot. 16 frames. Boom. Save it. Okay, so now these 3 layers can all be turned off, and we will deal with Asher. And I just have to figure out what kind of background I'm going to put on it. So we're back to the sketch layer. And the question now becomes, do I have enough to do ink? I would say yes, because I know the character pretty well. So go to the lines layer, back in draw mode, D key, We're going to charcoal ink, not charcoal ink filled. And we're going to put the radius at 12 pixels and the strength at 100% with no pressure. So what we're doing is we're basically going into sort of technical drawing pen mode. It's that old Ben Caldwell meets Alex Toth thing I talk about sometimes. Okay, so now if you're a little concerned about your ability to make a character symmetrical, then just Shift D, S to scale on the x-axis, negative, wait, what is it? Scale, X, oh yeah, -1. There we go, sorry. Alright, I'm going to rotate that so it's, just see if it's kind of sort of close, and it is. We'll put this here, and now I'm going to hit R to rotate it, but hit Shift so that I can really fine tune the rotation until it pops, and it's like, ah, there it is, there's Asher. Up, back to the D key. I'm going to do one thing here. Input samples. I'm going to turn on active smoothing. I'm finding it kind of works a little nicer than the stabilizer. I've generally favored the stabilizer in the past, but my thinking on that may be changing a bit. Okay, something to me feels quite wrong about Asher's eyes. I'm actually turning the stabilizer on for these, just so I can make, whoops, so I can make nice clean curves. And maybe we'll do the same thing I did before. L key, Shift duplicate, Shift X -1, boom. Put it over here. Whoops, did not mean to do that. Hit Control Z, rotate, go, just dial that into there. Alright, now the question becomes, oh, for crying out loud, I've got to change that hotkey. I wish I could go directly from edit mode into sculpting. You actually can, of course, but I don't have the hotkeys set up correctly. So I always forget to go into draw mode before hitting the E key. If you're in edit mode, it extrudes, which is like very rarely what I want. Okay, yeah, these eyes look completely wrong, so I'm just gonna be unceremonially, what am I trying to say? Unceremoniously. Okay, and then this, likewise, feels a little off to me. Not sure what I'm not liking about that, but there's something about it that I'm just not totally on board with. Kind of weird. There's something about the characterization that just feels wrong to me. That feels better. However, his whole, in terms of the way he looks in the shot, he really looks too big to me. So I'm going to just take the liberty of changing that right now. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Let's cut this off so that'll fill nicely. And then what I'm thinking is, after Asher is colored, we'll do a sculpt operation that is kind of like a labored sigh, like kind of thing. All right, boom, boom. Okay, so let's go back to Asher's ink lines, hit select all, and I'm actually thinking instead of what I had, I'm going to go ahead and move him here because he's easier to see, and completely reverse what I said before. I think I'm going to go ahead and make him bigger. Okay, so we can turn these off and just get the fills done. Let's just get it done. The sketch layer can be turned off. And I can kind of see, why do we have a keyframe here? Oh, okay, my mistake. I often make mistakes, so let's put this here, go back to here. If I turn off auto keying, if it mattered to be able to see what's going on with the jailer and stuff, then with auto keying turned off, I could go here and make changes and it would change this frame here. Whereas if auto keying is on and I'm downstream a little bit, if I start drawing, it's actually going to create a new frame. So that's what went wrong a moment ago. Not a big deal. Okay, so do we have Asher anywhere in here? I don't think we do. Okay. So do we want to set up an Asher palette or cheat? Let's cheat. We'll use Lucas colors this time around. Okay, so let's go into draw mode. Fill. Here's hoping. Oh, okay. You got to go into the fills layer and insert a blank keyframe. It's one thing I'm not totally sure if I love. You would think if you try to do a fill operation, that would be the same as doing a draw operation, and it should automatically create a keyframe, but what do I know? Okay, so before I do this, there's one more thing I'm seeing that I want to fix. Oops, that is not what it was. That's better. Back to the fills layer. And okay, so hold on. We're going to do, let's hit the D key, and now we're in fill mode. Probably, yeah, let's work from front to back. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to grab whites of eyes right now and manually fill the beard. Like that. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, in fill mode, I'm going to put draw strokes on back, which means that whatever I do, I kind of want to work from front to back. So we're stealing Luca's colors, which clearly are way off. So, oops. And that's fine. Now we'll just make a little adjustment. Something like that. A little more pasty. And that feels a little too saturated. There you go, something like that. Okay, boom, boom. Same thing here. Needs to be a little more muted. And then this, I think, is pretty good the way it is, probably. Okay, so now we can go to the shadows layer. Go here. Material-wise, obviously, shadow. Okay, and we'll just draw these manually. As you can see, hold on. Is this the same situation? We need a blank keyframe. Fine, fine. You know what I think? I'll tell you, I'll fix this after the fact, but I think part of the problem is I don't think his nose is long enough. Gee, you'd think after drawing the character for 5 years I'd know what I'm doing, but well, not so much. Just kind of wing it. Okay, that backfired. Zoom out a bit there, Jack, so you can control what you're doing. Okay. Now, we're probably going to put in another shadow layer, but we don't have to do that now. What I do want to do is turn off these layers again and the sketch layer. Turn off auto lock and active layers so that I can sculpt on more than one layer at a time, so that I can zoom in here and the ink and color will all get sculpted at the same time. Okay, so now what did I say? I said we were going to go boom, and now we're going to extend this. I may not wind up using it in the real shot when it's done, but I'm just going to extend this to 48 frames. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go, watch this. Oh, bad, 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 bad. I need to turn on auto key. Okay, and I'm assuming if I can't see these layers that it's not going to be giving them keyframes, is it? Nope, it's not. That's good. So what I wanted to do was basically the shoulders come up a bit. Just a little gentle motion. Belly comes out a bit. Okay, let me see how that feels. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take these keys, bring them to here, so it's bam. Yeah, this needs to be more labored, so I'm going to go like this, and we'll just see how this goes. So let's go to the shadows layer, lines layer, fills layer. Just see what happens. Yep, there you go. So now this is great because all we have to do is lasso these, shift duplicate them over here, give them a pause. Put that there, and then hit scale to scale these keyframes. So we just move them in the opposite direction. So let's just see how it feels. Bam. You know, not bad. I'm thinking if I scale this down a notch, I feel like he would fall. Yeah. And actually, let me rethink that. I do want to cut out one keyframe. I don't think I want to cut out two. And then this is going to be, I'm just going to anchor this on his nose with a really big sculpt. So he can just kind of fall down. Okay, that was not bad, but it wasn't quite extreme enough. So let's go here. See, I'm just putting in automatic keyframes. Okay, so let's turn everything back on and see if what we have looks pretty good. So File, Save, and if so, then we just need a can't finish my sentence for some reason, background. Okay, so there is one thing wrong. Either something has onion skins going down. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and why is this? Oh, because I turned it down, silly. Somebody's trying to call me. Okay, brief continuation. Obviously, the phone rang. So I'm going to wrap it up this way. Step one was turn off these other layers. The overall look of the shot is fine. Especially, I think, if the camera was slowly pushing in, would definitely look pretty cool on this shot. So what I did was I rendered out everything here, and then did import animation frames into Krita. So we've got 48 frames at 8 frames per second. And the reason I did that is so that I can add secondary tinting and shadowing and stuff. Okay, so now what we're going to do is the complete opposite. We're going to turn off all the layers except these. Okay, static bars. I can see a mistake that I made that I can fix very quickly. Static bars, it's all on this one frame. So I'm going to go into edit mode and actually just grab this, L, select linked, and then I'm going to hit shift and grab one of these, L to select linked, and I'm going to actually, I think what I'm going to do is duplicate these on the x-axis over to here, and then just hit the M key to move those strokes into the static bars layer. There we go. Now what we can do is just re-render the shot, and then we will import those into Krita. So go back to the beginning here. File, import animation frames. It's still going to be 48 images, so I just render these from Blender onto the RAM drive because I know that in the vast majority of cases I'm going to ultimately bring it into Krita for finishing. So let those come in. We'll come back to the background. So these should be pinned to the timeline. So we will save this as episode 4, shot number 6, 006. So there is a Krita file and a Blender file in here. And we can go ahead and render this now just for kicks and giggles. This is going to basically just be a 6 instead of a 5. This is going to be 006 period. And so that should create the frame in Krita. It should create the folder, I'm sorry, in Krita. So that, boink, boink. If we go up here, well, let's just go to our favorites. Episode 4, shot 6, render. So there you go. Krita already rendered it for us. So now we just need to deal with the background. And as I say, a secondary, let's put Asher in a group. and just add another layer over top, and that layer is going to be just, I didn't mean to use white, but that's okay. Just going to go like this. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll just take that and hit Control M, make it black. Filter, blur, I'll do a Gaussian blur. Control F to repeat that. Okay, and now I'm going to go into liquify mode and just kind of position it a little better. And then something like that. Okay, and then what we'll do is hit Control Insert here, which adds a keyframe, so that here, right here, what we'll do is we'll just go to this frame. Okay, stop everything, undo. I'm on the wrong layer. So now I'm just going to go forward one frame at a time. And this doesn't have to be perfect in any way. It just needs to move with him a little bit, so that it's got some life to it. There it is. Okay, save that. Cool. Now all we got to do is add the background, which I'm not going to do right now because I got other stuff I need to go do. But basically, I mean, look what's been accomplished here. This shot, this whole thing, which is a, what was that, a 6-second shot, took only, I don't know, I mean, a little over an hour, I think, because we only had to draw Asher once. The stuff that moves a lot was all in silhouette. And so, again, it's just another example of where, if you really think through your storytelling, how can I do this as economically as possible? Usually ends up being pretty good storytelling when you do it the simplest way, actually. So anyway, that's it for now. Okay, a third video. I'm going to see how fast I can do this. Okay, so all I'm doing on the background is the following. I'm going to put in some bricks. They don't have to be perfect. Okay, as you can see, obviously they're a little off center. That's alright. Okay, so now I've got this layer, and what I'm going to do now, I'm going to keep adding layers just because it's quick to do. So, okay, so that's basically from the outside. So what we'll do is we'll go here and start giving these guys, you know, they're going to pick up some light from this, obviously. Whoops. I mean, I guess that's okay, actually. Okay, no, I'm just going to turn the opacity of it down as I go south here. Probably a little more. So that the further we get away from the window, the more muted the you know, specular effect will be. Okay, boom, boom. Just very light. I know I sound like Bob Ross. Okay. Alright, and now those are going to be more like that. Okay, and then we're going to take the airbrush and just do this. Turn that way down. So we just get a little bit of that. And then I think we'll kind of balance that with a little bit of red coming from underneath. Like so. This, I'm going to say actually let's go in here and kind of put in some white as well. Give this a little bit of variety. Like that, something like that. Okay, what else can we do? Well, we could take a brush like this. Something like, no, something like that. Let's take that. Whoops, that's too much, obviously. And I'm going to sample that blue color so we pick up more of a blue, a little less white. Okay, and then let's go the opposite. Some black specks. Right, okay. And then go back to the Conan brush. And I would say that wants to be, let's just put it on another layer. Okay, just a few cracks. We'll go in and put some highlights on those cracks here in a minute. Little break there, little piece broken out, you might say. Okay, and then we're gonna be very careful on this highlighting. It probably is a little too saturated there. Right up here, that could be. Actually, I have that on the wrong side. Sorry. Okay, and then what else? One more layer. Let's go black here and just try to pick up just a little bit of depth here. I know it looks terrible, doesn't it? Hang on, just sit tight. Okay, and I reserve the right for this not to work, by the way. Okay, and now let's just ease that in till it feels good. Something like that. Okay, save that. And turn these back on. I am feeling like this layer probably needs to be darkened. Like a true black kind of situation. Maybe not completely. Let's do it that way. Break it down about halfway and let's just see what we have. Okay, rewind. Oh, my mistake. Okay, so let me go here and correct that. My mistake. What I needed to do was go like this, do the same thing again, and this time I'm going to put multi-frame so that every single frame is going to get colored. So that'll kind of take a second to do. Okay, let me think about this for a minute. What if we put this in a group, duplicate it, let's say what we're gonna do is the opposite. Let's take this and make it white. Okay, and then we're going to take a transform mask, hit the A key, and just offset this a little bit. Okay, and now let's move this underneath this. Like so, and I would say maybe this could actually go up a little bit too. Like that. Okay, it seems too bright to me. This is a subtle effect, but it does help. Just a little bit. Like that. and save our work because I think we're done. Boom. Boom. Unless I get some surprises. Let's find out. Let's go over to Vegas. Boom. Search for missing file. Image 1. I have no idea what that's about. Got no idea. I'm just going to clean the media pool. Go here. And let's import shot number 6. Render. Again, unless there's a surprise, we're probably good to go here. So there's 6. Smack that in right there. So again, this was an illustration of how economically you can add production value. It's really cool. Alright, so there's that. This should be node resampling. Alright, so now let's look at how it flows from this shot. Sweet. I think it's awesome. Now, there is one thing I think I'll change, but basically I'm done, so I'll end the video. Let me just do this. One more thing. I'm going to take this, and let's make this as simple as possible. So I'm going to add a filter mask to it, because all I want to do is probably pump up just a little bit. Pump up a little bit of red in there. Or let me hit F3. If you add a filter mask in Krita, you can always hit F3 to go ahead and edit it after the fact. So now I'm going to just look at how this feels with. I think I like that the best. So if we turn that off, we can see, yes, it's just got a little bit more life than pure black. So boom, that's it. We're done. All right, in half a second, I'll let that render, and then I'll just play it back full screen, and then we will be done for today. So the sequence, we're going from this to this. And then we'll be going into his little conversation with Golik. So that's it.